why it is that the old way of wholesaling has not been working for years now and what's kept you stuck. What's the motivation of these people? I don't know. I just kind of pulled a list and threw everything at the wall and saw what's stuck. You're spread so thin and you're so much all over the place that it actually makes it hard for you to build a consistent revenue stream, let alone close high margin deals consistently. So my overhead went way down, my marketing costs went down to $500 a month, and my profits went through the roof. But are you willing to do less chasing? Are you willing to be less busy, but be more productive? Everybody feels like the more you move, the more you do, the more success you're gonna have. Not if you're going in the wrong direction. If you are a wholesaler who feels like you're doing everything right, but still struggling to build momentum, then I'm glad you're in this training. Because we're about to pull the curtains back on why it is that the old way of wholesaling has not been working for years now and what's kept you stuck. It's actually interesting because it's not just outdated, it's working against you. You know, it's a strategy, a technique that we've been using for years that hasn't worked for years. And if you are doing this, then that's probably why you feel so stuck right now. So this is a time for you to lean in, take some notes. And again, if you're watching live, ask me some questions. We can go deep on it right now. And if you're watching the replay, just drop it in the comments. But yeah, this is really what the traditional way of wholesaling was that's causing you so much problems. Is pretty much you would buy a course, right? You would get a book or maybe listen to some podcast. Then you learn that it's like, oh, we just got to pull a list. Right? What's that? The absentee list, the pre-foreclosure list, or maybe a probate list. And then once you pull it, you're going to use some, crappy service like batch leads or something of the sort to skip trace it. Or maybe you're just going to do a direct mail blast to the whole list. And what ends up happening is you're going to be hiring VAs. You're going to be cold calling, mass dialing, doing all these things. And hopefully, you trip over a deal. What's the motivation of these people? I don't know. I just kind of pulled a list and threw everything at the wall and saw what's stuck. And sometimes I get leads from here and sometimes I get leads from here and sometimes they're online or direct mail or this or that. So you're spread so thin and you're so much all over the place that it actually makes it hard for you to build a consistent revenue stream, let alone close high margin deals consistently, right? So what ends up happening is you kind of get burned out. You get burned out. You get to a point where you're actually out of money. This has happened to a lot of people. It happened to me. That you start running out of money. You start running out of runway. You're talking to sellers, but you're like, just nobody's motivated. This is the one I hear all the time. John, there's so much competition. There's so much competition. John, I can't do this market. I got to do the virtual wholesaling nonsense that's out there because there's so much competition. It's all nonsense. I mean, honestly, guys, it's all nonsense. This is the biggest lie that's been told because the people that pushed out the traditional way of doing wholesales are still pushing out the traditional way because they haven't done it in years. So they keep pushing this stuff out because they don't know any better, right? If you're in the business right now, doing the business right now, you would have noticed that the business shifted years ago. And if you didn't shift, you are at a point right now where you're just trying to keep afloat. You're just struggling. You're looking to just stay alive. So the shift is pretty much the whole reason why I even created the method that I created. And yes, it is a method. A lot of people say, they ask me, they're like, why do you call it a method, right? Like, how innovative is it? I'm like, honestly, after being in this business for 13 years, seems pretty freaking innovative because I do not hear anybody else talk about it this way. So what shifted for me was the same concept that I was getting burned out. I was done with real estate. I actually, in 2021, I went through probably 17 times that year that I wanted to quit the business, and what drove me there was just the inconsistency. We were renovating 8 to 9 deals a month or consistently, not a month, but consistently at the same time. And as soon as we start wrapping those deals up, we needed more because it just wasn't enough. Some deals worked out okay. Others are like, barely there. but they weren't great deals. We were always behind the eight ball. It was always stressful. So I started rebuilding the whole way we thought about it. And it's like, well, what are we doing wrong? And what we were doing wrong is that it's very hard to focus and specialize when you're spread so thin, when you're doing so many things. It's hard as a business owner to dedicate the amount of time that is required to learn a strategy or technique deep enough to make an impact in your business. And that's exactly what I shifted. I decided to go deep instead of wide. And the shift was actually very scary because we had to shut down the process that we've been doing for years and rebuild in a time where we didn't have the runway to do this. But it was either we shut down and rebuild or we shut down, because I was fried. I was burnt the hell out. And it was something that I was just not willing to keep chasing. So what we started doing was like, all right, let's just rebuild this. Let's restructure what we're doing. And let's dominate an industry. Let's dominate a sector, a piece of motivation. So we went after sellers that had high levels of motivation. And what this looked like, and I did a training, if you haven't watched it, go back, it's in a YouTube, of stacking lists, of spear fishing, right? So go back, check out that training. But pretty much what we did differently was stack pain points to create urgency in selling. And by stacking these pain points and creating this urgency, all of a sudden we went from needing 3, 4, 5 months to close a deal to now we're closing deals in a few weeks, maybe a month, right? So our time from, let's say, lead generation to profit got shortened tremendously. This allowed us to have a much bigger runway and more room to breathe. And what we did was, like, we started targeting the pre-foreclosure list. Now, a lot of people think it's pre-foreclosure, right? That's the motivation. No. Pre-foreclosure is not a motivation. 10 out of 10 pre-foreclosure leads we call are not interested in selling. That is not a motivator. But what is a motivator is a pre-foreclosure where the homeowner is deceased, where the loan is 10 years or older, where the lender is an institutional lender. So you start adding all these other factors to it. Now, all of a sudden, we're getting some really good leads to go after. And not just that, but we're also getting leads that instead of going after hundreds or thousands of leads, we're going after 15, 18 leads a month. So instead of needing the 12, 14 people I had on my team, now all I really needed was 2. That was it. So my overhead went way down. My marketing costs went down to $500 a month. That is marketing, CRM, skip tracing, everything. And my profits went through the roof. And the next thing we did was like, okay, now we know what the real motivation is. But who are the people that are willing to pay premium, right? Who are these people that are paying premium? Because it's not enough to get somebody that wants to sell if the person that wants to sell is selling in an area where nobody wants to buy. And a lot of you are doing that, right? We're generating a bunch of leads. All we're doing is marketing first. Once you get the deal, then the buyers are going to magically happen and pop up. That's just not the case. If you're here, you know that's not the case, right? So what we do is we build our buyers list first. Who are our premium buyers? Who are the people that are doing it? And I did a whole training on building your buyers list. Again, go to the YouTube channel, check out that previous training. It was a few weeks back. But you're building this premium buyers list of buyers that are paying top dollar for these deals. Now you know exactly the areas they want deals in. You know the types of homes they want deals in. You know how to find these homes that are highly distressed in those areas. Now you got both pieces of the puzzle. But here's the other area, is because you're specializing, we get to go deep on what the motivation and the need is for these homeowners. So when we're calling them, we don't sound like everybody else. We get to call them and start an intro that somebody else isn't even using yet, because they're not doing what we're doing. They're spread so thin that they're doing the basic, hey, I see that you own this house. Do you want to sell for cash as is in 7 days? Same nonsense everybody else is saying. So homeowners become so desensitized to the scripts you guys are using that as soon as you start, they're already shut down on you. But with us, our scripts are so different that when we call them, they're like, wait, who are you? What do you do? Well, what does that mean? And how can you help me? Oh, yeah, I'd love to talk further. There we go. We're the only ones talking to them. You understand? And then we started shortening the time from conversation to, can we close them on the first call? Because now all of a sudden, I'm not warming this person up for you to call right behind me and close them, because that was happening too. So we started shifting completely how we do wholesales, how we do our deals. And when you hear these gurus out there that are saying, wholesaling is dead, they're right. For the lazy wholesaler, wholesaling is dead. For the people that are willing to do the research, willing to build their business correctly, willing to set up the systems correctly, wholesaling is better than it's ever been before. We've made more money in the last few years than we've ever had in our business. We made a lot of money during the pandemic, and we're making a lot of money now in a very competitive market like San Antonio, Texas. It just doesn't matter. The money's there, the deals are there, because the system is different. You understand? What we go after is different than everybody else. So now, because of this, what the method gives you is predictability. You know where the returns are. If you need to, what I tell all my students, it's like, my goal with you guys is that you need 20, 30 grand this month. In 2 weeks you can go and get it. You know exactly how to do it. You know exactly how to find the list, how to find the buyers, how to find the need, how to connect with the owner, and how to close those deals. That's it. When you're able to do that, now you're ready to build a system. Now you're ready to build a business. So many people scale before they're ready. If you, by yourself, can't generate $500,000 to $750,000 a year by yourself, you should not be hiring anybody. You don't have a business yet. You don't have a system that makes consistent revenue. So you're trying to add more fuel to a fire that hasn't even been lit. You understand? This is a mistake that we made. And this is where the shift happens, is you don't do that. You become successful yourself first. When you by yourself can generate $500,000 a year easily, now we can talk about, hey, seems like you know what the hell you're doing. Now you're ready to maybe add another person and see if we can take that $500,000 to $1 million. You understand? Now we can tweak the systems. Now we can add the processes. Now we can actually do something. But until you're making that kind of money, and that was, again, a massive shift for us, because we weren't doing even $400,000 a year, and yet we had 12 people on our team. It's ridiculous. The hell you need 12 people for? With 3 people, we're generating almost $2 million. Now, back then, we weren't doing that. It's very different than how you used to do it. So, I mean, this isn't for everybody, honestly, because it's not sexy. I know the numbers I'm talking about right now, they sound exciting, right? I'm sure you listening, you're saying, damn, John, if I can make 50 grand a month, 60 grand a month, hell yeah. I'd be, so excited about it. But are you willing to do less chasing? Are you willing to be less busy, but be more productive? Because don't confuse, movement with progress, right? Everybody feels like the more you move, the more you do, the more success you're going to have. Not if you're going in the wrong direction. This isn't about being busy and doing a million things. This is about doing the right thing and doing it with so much precision, so much focus, so much deliberate attention that it's impossible for you to fail. Are you willing to dedicate that focus to it? Because if you are, guess what? You got to revamp your whole business right now. That's what I'm telling you. And I know you don't like that right now. You're like, screw that. My business, as flawed as it is making money. Until when? How long are you willing to pursue this? And I hear a lot of you guys, I was speaking to somebody recently. Well, John, when I get out of this crunch, then I'll do this thing. I'm like, you won't. Because the same mindset got you into this crunch. What's going to change? You understand? Like, you can't keep going through the same strategy you've been doing to get out of the shit that got you in here. It's a mindset shift that needs to happen. The market is great everywhere. I don't care what the months of inventory are. In San Antonio, they went up to 8 months of inventory. We were still doing 6 figures a month. It doesn't matter. It went down now to 6 months of inventory. We're still doing 6 figures a month. I don't care where the market is at, because I can make money in any market. I don't care where the competition is at, because I can make money in any market. When this sinks in, guys, you'll stop pulling the massive list. You'll stop blasting to properties with a bunch of random marketing. You'll stop chasing every single lead that comes in thinking that that's, you don't know which one's going to be good. Yes, we actually do. We actually know which leads are going to be good. We're very selective from the leads we go after. We already pulled a new list that we're marketing to in San Antonio. It's 1,800 properties that we're going to be marketing to over the course of a year, one property at a time. I'm not doing 1,800 properties right now. We probably do maybe 10 a week, if that. But the 10 a week that we do, all I need is one. One of those is making us $80,000 to $90,000. You get to choose. What's the mindset? What's the thing that you're going to choose to make your essentially your struggle, right? Because you get to choose your hard. You've heard this before, right? You get to choose your hard. You get to choose your suck. What is it that you're going to choose for you? Are you going to keep doing the same business you've been doing and generating the same results you've been generating? Or are you going to stop chasing literally everything everybody else is doing? The sub-twos, the creative financing, all that bullshit. Guys, that is a freaking tip of the iceberg of what real estate is. Yet everybody makes their whole business that. Novations, sub-twos, owner, none of that shit matters if you can't generate high margin deals. None of it does. I've done mostly all of them except novations. They don't matter. If you can't generate high margin deals, I don't care what you're doing, what the strategy is, what the tactic is, what the hack is. It means nothing. So if you're tired of spending more money and making less, if you're ready to build a business and not just hustle, if you want to learn, how to go to 7 figures a year with less than 20 deals, then you got to implement this method. If you've been following me for any period of time, there's a free PDF I give you. There's a free strategy call you can book with me. I put the link in the comments, right? pwmcall.com. You can book a free strategy call. I'll analyze your whole business and tell you exactly what you need to be going. But if you want to stay busy, because that's what the right path is for you, right? I'll do a flip here, I do a flip there, I get busy, I make it look like I'm really good at real estate because I'm doing so many things all at once, but yet you're not making money, you don't have time freedom, you don't have financial freedom. What's really the point? You tell me, what's really the point of doing that if all you're looking for is just to look busy? I have coaches, guys, for a reason. And my coaches, they're better off than I am, right? They're doing much better. That's why they're my coaches. And all of them, same thing. They all focus on one thing better than everybody else. This multiple streams of income nonsense, that's all it is nonsense. If you're starting off and you can't generate at least $1 million a year, you should not be considering any other stream. Each stream should make you at least 7 figures. So if you can't get one stream to make you 7 figures, you are not there yet. You haven't figured out how to maximize that stream. Stop looking for distractions. So what is the new method? I've shown it to you. The prime wholesaling method, I've broken it down. I've showed you pillar after pillar exactly how to do it. The only reason you're not doing it is because you value the busyness over the productivity. That's why your wholesale business is breaking. That's why your flip business is struggling. That's why your business sucks. Because all you're doing is just chasing the busy and not chasing the production. So with that being said, guys, that's the training. I hope it was helpful. I hope it gives you a reshift in the way you operate. If you have any questions, drop them in right now. But if you're not shifting the way you're doing your business and you keep doing it the old way, of just a ton of marketing, finding your buyers after you lock something up, 70% minus repairs, all the crap that hasn't been working for years, don't be surprised you keep getting the same results you've been getting for years. And it's sad, but you are choosing the business you have. So just choose better. All right? Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you on next week's training. Bye.